Hey everybody and welcome. I'm Matt, Senior Client Success Manager here at White House Custom Color. And before we start chatting with Andrew, who we're very honored to have here today, I just want to make a couple announcements. If you haven't hit the subscribe button for the WHCC YouTube channel, make sure and do that so you get notified of cool events like we're doing today. Follow along on Instagram at WHCC Pro, and for all of the product details and questions you have about what we do here at WHCC, check out our website at WHCC.com. If you do have questions for Andrew along the way today, if you're watching this live, go ahead and put them into the chat so we can have him answer them while we've got him live. If you're watching the recording of this, put it into the comments, and I'm pretty sure that we can track him down to get answers, and he's a nice guy, so he'll answer them for us. So thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, you bet. Happy to be here.
Yeah.
Super excited.
Yeah, for sure. So for people who are watching along today that aren't familiar with who you are, can you fill in the blanks, tell everybody who you are, where you're from, where you like to travel to get some of these beautiful images? Let's just kind of start there.
Sure, you bet. So I'm from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I've been shooting for about 4 or 5 years now, more seriously. Kind of shot on and off my whole life. My dad shot his whole life as a hobbyist, and I tagged along, but didn't really put too much effort into it per se. I mainly just enjoyed being outdoors. Yeah. And then it hit me a few years ago that hey, this might be something that could really pay off and really got a lot of enjoyment to do. And really kind of dove into it head over heels after that. So I primarily shoot landscape, and I love to travel around, as you can see, quite a bit. So I'm from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and love to travel to the Faroe Islands and Iceland and Norway and Botswana and Germany, and go to Alaska quite a bit when I can, and just really showcase the beauty of the whole area, whether that be local or international.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're so polished. I knew this was going to be good today. So with your photographic background, where did you get your training? Did you teach yourself? Did your dad help with that? So where did that come from, Andrew?
Yeah, my training mainly came from myself. So 4 years ago when I submitted, I used to work at Citibank at the time, and there's this big South Dakota bankers calendar that everybody in the company would get. We're talking 3,000 people on campus get this calendar. And one night I went out and took a long exposure of some cars and their taillights and their headlights and everything, and submitted it to the calendar, and it got selected. And I thought, holy crap, this is the coolest thing ever. So I kind of forget about it until May. And then I'm walking around, and May rolls around, and my shot is up on everybody's desk. And everybody's like, Andrew, I didn't know you're a photographer. And I'm like, I didn't know either. So then it kind of hit me that I want to dive into this. And I follow a lot of guys like Nick Page and a few of those other guys. And they offer a lot of training. And I thought, well, I'm a computer guy. I can easily dive into this and kind of teach myself. So I went head over heels and learned as much as I could and spent all the money and learned all of the technical stuff to immediately build a really strong technical background.
That's awesome. I like how you said I spent all the money.
Yeah, that adds up quick, but I'm like, hey, if you can invest in yourself.
Yeah, that's awesome. And something that we learned just this morning when you got here, you've had such success with your shows, but you're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of even doing your first in-person show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my first show was going to be coming up this Saturday, actually. And if you look at my booth, you might think that you've been doing this for quite a long time. And that's what I want it to look like, is I did a lot of research and talked to a lot of people ahead of time to really dive into it, make sure I had success off the bat. Yep. And I didn't invest a lot to start. I invested maybe $1,000 for the whole setup to see if I liked it and see working with people and doing all that stuff. Yep. And it's gone really well since then.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, we could sit here, literally, for everybody that's with us today, and talk about perspective and color and photography and locations and all that stuff, but we're going to set that kind of aside a little bit today. And not to downplay the talent that you have, because obviously you're phenomenal, but what I really want to talk with you about today is other things.
Yeah.
And how you are taking, a year basically in your booth, and you've created such success. I mean, you've sent us pictures of your booth setup before you start, and it's full. And then, the next day you'll send a picture and it's like empty. There's nothing left. Maybe one print is left.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, that's consistent. Like when I go to shows, I sell out. Now, for those of you that are listening along who are, landscape photographers, wildlife, graphic artists, going and doing these shows, to sell out is a big thing. To do it once is one thing. To do it consistently is entirely different. So that's what I really want to focus on today. So in your words, like what is the core of what you want to teach today? What do you want to share? What can be valuable for people who are listening along to implement like immediately?
Sure. So the core of what I want to teach today is successful booth sales and sales outside of that is a combination of a few things. We have our soft skills, and we have our booth fundamentals and different things like that you can really translate to any part of sales, whether that be portrait or session or booths themselves. And we're going to kind of walk through that, how you can successfully kind of buck trends. And when I went into booths and doing stuff like that, I looked at how other photographers did it, and I took that under consideration, but I really wanted to do my own thing. And we'll talk about that, how my booth layout is completely different than other people. Yeah. And I didn't want that to influence me too much. Yeah. So we'll kind of talk about how that plays out along with our soft skills.
Yeah, awesome. So really you took a look around.
Yep.
But then you were like, okay, well, you do that, and I'm going to go do this.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I like that. So if I was going to really put you on the spot, and I didn't tell you I was going to do this, but I knew I was going to do it anyway. If you were going to say this thing is most important, how are you selling your art so successfully? If I was going to make you say one thing, what is that thing?
Sure. So the one big thing is a combination of a whole lot of things, and that one big thing.
That's cheating.
Loophole. Is stories connecting with people. Okay. If you can connect with people and tell the story, then that's really the key to everything.
Okay. Do you want to say a little bit more about that now, the story and how you do that, or do you want to keep that because I know you have an idea in your head.
Yeah, let's keep that for now, and we'll dive into it a little bit more later.
Okay, sounds good. So I have, on number 7 on here, I was going through your slide deck that you sent me, and we talked about this a little bit this morning, but you refer to Mario.
Yeah.
What's the deal with Mario?
Sure. So the deal with Mario is that everybody always gets hung up on how awesome your product is, and it's UV coated and museum grade and archival quality, and this is how awesome it is. But the heart of advertising and the heart of sales is going to be, what problem are we solving for the customer today? How are you going to go from normal Mario and eat that mushroom and go into Super Mario? What problem are you going to solve, and how awesome is this piece going to make your room? Or if you're a portrait or session photographer, how beautiful is your family going to look after I take these photos and showcase their beauty and put them up on the wall or share them on Facebook or wherever and put out your Christmas cards. Yep. So I have to teach and remind myself this quite often, because when I got into this, I print on the best material. I use you guys. Yep. I love it, and I put a lot of work into presentation and how the product is, but people don't connect with that as much as they could at least. So if you can kind of translate that into, hey, here's what this is going to do for you, here's how you're going to go from Mario into Super Mario, then that's where you're really going to hit that turning point. And it also shifts the focus off of you and your product to them and their solution. And that's big, because if you can make it about them and how this is going to help them, then that's just great on all regards.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I really like how you are explaining that, because and this doesn't just pertain to landscape, wildlife, or booth sales. So often I will see like an email newsletter or a social media post from a photographer, people that we work with day in and day out, and it's all focused on their story. Yep. How are they going to do this session? What is the location they're going to choose? How are they going to do this? Without remembering to focus on the client.
Yep.
Because naturally we all kind of like to talk about ourselves.
Yep.
And we want to be heard, and we want somebody who's a subject matter expert to help us solve that problem, if you will, for ourselves. So this is a really good lead in, and I know this is a big piece of your discussion. So for people who aren't familiar, what are soft skills? Like what's a good way to start that conversation?
Sure. So soft skills are simply non-technical skills.
Okay.
So when I think of soft skills, I think of people's facial expression, kind of like reading people, how their body language is, the tone and inflection of their voice.
Yep.
It's all that stuff that you basically don't put on your resume, quote unquote. It's not the Microsoft Office training you did.
Okay.
It's not your photography certifications. It's everything else. And people forget that that's just as important, if not more important, than your hard skills that you put so much work and effort into. Okay. Because it's really easy, especially I have a computer science degree and very technical, to be like, hey, you're Cisco certified and you have the certification. And those are fun to go down and kind of knock down a little bit. But if you can't connect with people and utilize those soft skills and manage multiple conversations at the same time and read people's body language, then everything else is going to fall short. And it can be a little bit tough to see like other photographers, because photography is a big field that it's fun to get technical. It's fun to go down all the rabbit holes and, hey, look, I've eliminated all the noise using that software and what tool do you use and all that stuff. And you can do that alone, and it is pretty fun. But if you're not connecting with the people, then when you're at your booth or doing portrait work or session work out with a family, then those numbers aren't going to come through. And you can think that it might be a reflection that you don't have enough hard skills, when in reality, the issue might be that you don't have enough soft skills and that you just need to spend more time connecting with people and maybe doing some advertising and stuff on top of that to really make that connection. Because at some point, your product is, good enough, right? Yeah. And we just need to build on there. So making your product better isn't going to offer as much of a payoff as you might think it will.
Right. In really thinking about that, and I'm going to talk about me for a second.
Yeah, you bet.
Like, I very much love the story behind the thing.
Yep.
The product, the print, the art, whatever that is, that's all fine and dandy. But if it evokes an emotion and a response and a connection back to the story of where that thing came from, that increases the value of that exponentially.
Definitely.
And if you have a personal relation, like looking at some of your images, if somebody was like, I love this and I love your story, but I can also relate to it because I was there.
Yep. Or,
I did this thing and it involved that, then it's exponentially higher value. And I can't help but think that is the piece here, because there's a lot of really, really, really talented photographers.
Yep.
But they're not able to connect. And that's truly a skill set that has to be refined, and it has to be observed in people. So when you're in the booth, let's just try to do a little bit of like role play or real world scenario. So you just had a show a couple weekends ago. I think there was like 60,000 people or 70,000 people. 75,000. How in the world can you look at your booth packed with people and go, you, and be able to understand the skill set of identifying somebody who's really going to be engaged and that you can put your time into, because there might be other people that would be not the best people to spend the time on, I guess.
Yeah.
Tell us how you do that.
Yeah, so one of the ways I do that is I make sure to engage everybody. So no matter who walks up to my booth, I'm friendly to them, and I usually point out some aspect of what they're wearing or their clothing or anything like that, of, hey, I really like that, that's beautiful, because everybody picks out their clothing and that's kind of an expression of who they are. So we want to assume rapport, and we want to open on a positive note. So I instantly engage everybody that walks up, and then when I started my business, I kind of identified my target clientele more or less. Like, hey, here's the images I like to shoot, and here's how that typically fits. So for me, that's like 35 to 55 or 60-year-old female professionals who enjoy the outdoors. Okay. So if somebody walks up who might fit that avatar, then like, hey, that's kind of my target clientele, because I know that you're going to enjoy the brighter colors and some of the presentation of my work, and probably have that money to spend along the way.
Okay.
So, and kind of like what you hinted at, that is the core of everything, is telling the stories and focusing around that, because a lot of my pieces, I do a fair amount of traveling, but I found out that lately it's all about the stories and the connection.
Right.
And for me, that means selling local pieces that people can connect to, because people really want to showcase their local area or landscape or wildlife from different areas. Like, hey, you think that's a cute bear regardless of where it's from, thing like you're gonna connect with that. So do you want to get into my booth layout a little bit?
Let's do it, yeah.
Okay,
I'll
perfect.
follow your lead, Andrew.
Yeah, sweet, awesome. If we go to this slide, we can kind of look at my booth layout for a second. So, like I mentioned, kind of walking up to my booth is I want my booth to hit you, go, holy crap, that's awesome, and walk up to it, and then we connect on the stories a little bit more. So a few things are going to go into that. You're going to have your desirability of work and your presentation-ish. And the reason I put presentation-ish is because if you have a phenomenal product, like, people are probably going to find a way to buy that regardless. But, you know, most of us, like, we're kind of dealing in the middle ground. Like, people can, like, buy your product or, you know, not buy your product and go home either way. They're going to be happy. So then we have the ability to engage clientele. So walking up and making sure everybody feels welcomed and at home.
Yep.
And then your personality. When I got into the booth world and kind of like more photography sales, because you do definitely need to be in sales when you're in photography.
Yeah.
A lot of photographers might brush over that, but you really do need to get into it. People are buying you just as much as they're buying your product.
Right.
And one of my good friends told me that when I started, and that stuck with me. Your pricing is also super important. And if you'll notice, looking at my booth, there are no prices on the walls. And I do that very intentionally because I want I want the pricing to not influence what you think of the work. Okay. Because if you walk up and you're looking at a piece, then you're thinking, oh, hey, I love that piece, and it's $410, and you're instantly doing that back and forth on the piece. Yeah. And if I'm talking to you, I don't have your full attention. You're instantly kind of going back and forth on the pricing of that piece. So I try to delay that as much as possible, and I do have some pricing, a pricing sheet up there. Okay. And I kind of want to push that. I want your full attention. Everything about my booth and sales in general is about, like, connecting with you and kind of keeping around that. And then one last thing that I put in there as well is customer requests. Everybody always gets on, like, hey, I sell this and only this, in very black and white. Yep. But I would also advise you to be open to customer requests. So if you were to walk up to my booth and you just got back from a vacation in Cabo or wherever you're going, right? What's one thing that you might do with your phone?
Oh, I'd want to show you where we were at.
You want to show pictures where you were at.
Yep.
So naturally, being a photographer, I get a bunch of people showing, hey, check this out, check this out. And they're like, hey, your work is great, but can I put my photo on there and get it printed to my house? And first I thought, well, like, maybe not, right? But then I thought, well, why can't we do that? Like, that's perfect. So that's one thing I started offering is if clients come up to me and want to print their own work on metals and stuff like that, I'll definitely do it for you. So that's been really fun because then we can keep that high energy and that conversation going. And you know, I can make a little bit of money on submitting the order and drop shipping it to their house and making sure that, you know, the resolution and using like Topaz gigapixel or anything to upscale it. Everything looks perfect. And because at the end of the day, that's what we're doing, is we're solving problems for the client. Right. And your client's going to come to you with problems, whether that be, hey, I want headshots and maybe you don't do headshots right now, or hey, I want this printed on some metals and I don't know how to do that. If you can figure out a way to solve problems for your client, you create win-wins across the board, and that really pays off well.
Yeah, you know, that's a really cool idea, Andrew. And plus, you know, they're coming to you, wanting you to create a solution for them. You're doing that, and then they become a very warm contact at that point. And then they're in your email chain, they're in your marketing funnel, all those things. And then, oh man, I love my image, but now I can see why this guy is so good because I look at mine and then look at his.
Exactly.
You know? And they're seeing the value for that. So yeah, absolutely. So so when this process is going on and you're going from your booth design, you're doing things intentionally, so they're drawn from the look of the product, you are not pricing things to have distractions. So the soft skills, once the person is there, you're engaging them, you're giving a compliment right away. So you're starting the process by giving so you can receive, essentially. Yeah. What's next? What are the reads? What are the things that you're watching for with the body language and the verbiage and stuff like that?
Sure. So I want to preface this by saying a lot of body language and stuff you probably already know intuitively, because most of the time when people mention body language and soft skills, they think, oh my God, this is a lot, and like maybe I need to do some training or learning or really get into it. But just you as a human already can read things pretty well. Yeah. So
I know when I make Kelly mad. Like, I fully understand that.
We're aware. We don't need a memo.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah. So you're welcome to you can go to Google and type in like, hey, body language cues and different things like that. But I would like to say that you probably know a lot of those already. So if we look at like example A here, you can get an instant read on, hey, how is this conversation or interaction going? And without any training, we see two people smiling, leaning towards each other. Let's just walk through some of the aspects here. They're smiling, that's a big facial cue. Their hands are outstretched, they're doing some transaction. You know that things are going well without having any other context or clues to what's going on here. So now if we complement that with B, looking at her, we see that her body language is completely changed. She's closed. Yeah. Her arms are crossed, her legs are crossed too, they're a little bit cut off. Her facial expression is totally different, and she's at least neutral in the body position or leaning back a little bit. So a good example I like to use of this is if you're sitting at dinner with somebody, you can tell how engaged they are by like either if they're leaning forward and they want more of the conversation, or maybe they're leaning back, but in a different sense. They're leaning back and they're open and they're kind of relaxed and open and just kind of enjoying it like that. So, and then the other one was on there that was just facial cues and just a whole smorgasbord, there's a fun word, of, yeah, man, we're gonna drop some keywords in there, of different facial expressions, and that you can read those already. So the name of the game here is basically identifying and drawing attention to what you already know instinctively. Okay. So when people walk up to your booth, because if you would walk up to my booth, you would see a whole lot of things going on, and hopefully I make it look like fairly easy, but if we go to this slide, that's a lot of practice, and I want to stress that that doesn't happen overnight. When people walk up, I'm talking with somebody, I'm holding one conversation, I'm engaging somebody else as they walk up. Maybe somebody is walking around to the back to check out the art up close. I want to engage them and make sure that like, hey, it's okay, walk up, please don't touch. So I'm reading all of their facial expressions, their body language, people trying to check out. Hey, I finally found some cards. Can you check me out? Sure, I would love to. Acknowledging new people walking up to you, listening intently to the person's story, and then, like I said, telling the story behind my work. So you need to do a whole lot of things right off the bat, a lot to manage, all while looking calm, collected, approachable, and in control. You need to look like you have things going on, because I do shows solo and it's you know. So if somebody would walk up to your booth and see you frazzled, well, that's not great, right? So you need to manage a lot of that right off the bat, and that simply comes with practice and kind of starting small and utilizing what you already know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can't even imagine. I mean, we do a lot of trade shows, obviously, but normally we have a team, especially for a huge show.
Yeah.
So we're able to kind of balance that and keep things going. But boy, to do that all by yourself and to still remember to try to sell and make money, like that's a lot to manage. Absolutely. So how long did it take you? I mean, you've only been doing this really in person for a year. Like, did you hit the ground running on the first one, like, I've got this, I'm doing it? Or has there just been a learning curve along the way that you're just getting better and refining?
Yeah, it's been a strong learning curve. So the first show I did will be in exactly a year, coming up this Saturday when I get back. And I basically did my first show last year and then went to Alaska for a month and then came back and did a show every weekend until the end of the year. So I ended up doing like 12 or 16 shows over the course of like a 3 or 4 month period. And I had one simple goal, and that was to get reps. The quality might not matter at this point. I just need to literally get reps and work out all the kinks. And if you're into the show world a lot, I missed all the big shows. All the big shows happen during the summer and kind of early fall, at least in this area. So I missed all those. And that maybe worked out for the better because all the shows I was doing were like small, hey, we're in a church gymnasium, it's a craft show, like a $50 entry fee, like, hey, let's go from there. So I spent a lot of time going out and doing small shows with people selling cookies and honey and like little doodads and trinkets and all sorts of stuff like that. And I realized I paid for that in the sense that that's a lot of setup time. So my setup time right now is 3 hours with a tent outdoors and 2 hours indoors with the pro panels and everything. And at the time doing that by yourself, because I could fit everything in my car at that point, is a solid 2 hours and then like an hour tear down. But I knew that on top of the driving time was really going to pay off in getting those reps and talking to people and kind of starting small. So that's what I would recommend to any of our viewers. If this interests you at all, you can get going pretty easily for like $1,000 or less, fully set up in this. And you can do a lot of small shows that really require no like jurying or like, hey, just come out and pay your fee and you're good kind of deal. And that's a really easy way to get involved and see if you like it or not and kind of build from there. And that ended up working out perfectly because now we're going into this summer, which has the big shows, because up until, a month or two ago, the largest show I'd done was like 5,000 or 10,000 people. And that's not a lot of people, but if they're all kind of at your booth, that is a pretty good amount of people. But, it's really nothing compared to, the 75,000 people that we saw at Brookings Arts Festival, a couple weeks ago. So if you can start small and kind of get those reps in and figure out the payment system and like work out all the kinks, then you're prepared for those larger stuff that you can really take off.
Got it, yeah. And that's great advice. And I hope everybody listening really heard that, because essentially, like if we really boil that down through the funnel here, you took that time to invest in yourself and in your booth and getting your processes correct so you don't look frazzled, like you said. Because if you have a technical glitch, or you have a setup glitch, or you have your pricing is incorrect, or the movement or the energy of the booth is off, that's going to affect it big time. Like I couldn't imagine starting from square one and going into a 60,000 person show. Holy smokes. So I think a lot of times, and as humans, sometimes we're not the most prepared. We're procrastinating until the end, and then all of a sudden we just want to jump in and do it. But you didn't do that. You invested in getting your processes in place. And that's really, really wise. So before we move on, is there anything else that you want to talk about in reference to like the booth setup, like that kind of stuff? Or can we move on to doing like some table topic kind of stuff?
So one thing I will point out with my booth really quick, if I head back to the walkthrough slide, there's a couple things I want to point out that totally fly in the face of what you would normally see in literally any art or photography booth anywhere, really. And I did this completely intentionally. So one thing, looking at the slide, you're going to notice that my layout does not maximize wall space. If you want to maximize wall space, what you're going to do is you're going to put a bunch of French walls and essentially make a little maze in there. But I did that for a little bit, and like I said before, the key thing is I want to connect with people and sell stories. And if people are walking through that maze, those French walls or whatever, you can't do that. It's really awkward to stand next to people and tell that story. So I would identify if your work is more story-based or more like kind of generic-based, if you want to talk about a lot of your work, and see what layout choice based on that. Another thing that I do is I do have a chair, but you'll never see me sit down. Because, and even though it is a director's height chair, I literally never sit down. So when I show up at 7 o'clock for an 8 o'clock show and I'm done at 7 o'clock at night, I'm literally on my feet all day, 12 to 14 hours or whatever.
Comfy shoes.
Yeah, comfy shoes, comfy boots. Because I want to engage with people and I want to be there connecting with them on their level. So it's very rare to see me sit down, and normally I don't really have a chair even to begin with that. And kind of on that note, have you ever walked into the bar and the bartender's like not doing anything and he's just kind of sitting there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of awkward, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, it's super awkward. So they're always like polishing a glass or doing something like that. So if you walk up to my booth, you're never going to see me just standing there. You'll always see me like flipping through some cards or like doing little like fake inventory or something like that, because it's a lot more approachable. And you definitely want to be approachable and personable and friendly, and you want people to come up to you, because when I started in the show, a lot of people will walk by or like kind of hang around and they're waiting for you to engage them. They're going to buy something, or they would like to buy something, but they're also open to not buying something. So they want that connection. You want to eliminate all of that friction as you can. And a couple ways that I do that are having a chair and never sitting down and kind of being there engaging all the time, and also by looking super approachable and friendly by being kind of like a bartender and always doing something and like holding that conversation, but like you're not my only thing. Like it makes it a lot more low key.
Yeah, I can see where that'd be a lot better benefit than just staring awkwardly at them and saying, I hope you come into my booth so I can sell you something.
Or the guys just sit in the back of their booth and just in the chair watching you, like, I don't know.
Or on their phone.
I feel a little judgmental or second priority, and those are two words that we definitely don't want to use when interacting with customers.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Okay, table topics.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. What's a table topic, Andrew?
Sure. So table topics, if anybody's ever gone to a Toastmasters meeting, kind of a public speaking and leadership development group, table topics is a free-form section of the meeting where you draw your name and you go up and you don't know what you're going to talk about. And the idea is that anybody can talk about anything for 2 minutes.
Okay.
And 2 minutes both sounds like a lot of time, and it also sounds like no time at all. But that's the idea, is that you're not really sure what question you're going to get until you get up there.
Okay. So, and this could backfire on me horribly, but when we were talking about the content for today, and I knew that Andrew had a background with Toastmasters, and I always thought that would be really cool to do. I've never done it yet, but I love to speak. From my very favorite teacher I ever had in 3rd grade had a cool stage in his classroom, and that's where like my love of public speaking began. And we're going to let Andrew put me on the spot today.
We're feeling lucky.
Twice. Yeah, we're feeling lucky. And I have no idea what he's going to ask me.
Sure.
And I'm going to do my best to give you a 2-minute response to whatever your table topic is. So, floor is yours. You're in charge. You're host now.
Perfect. Oh, man. All right, everybody buckled up?
Right,
we're good. Yeah. All right, cool. So we'll start off with a pretty easy one. The first speech you would ever do in Toastmasters is called the icebreaker. You break the ice, you kind of tell us a little bit about yourself. So our first table topic's question, you're the expert on yourself. So kind of give me your like quick background, where you were born, and your quick professional background, and kind of how did we get here today?
Absolutely. Well, I'm Matt. We all know that. I'm originally from Fairmont, Minnesota. I grew up, in a small town right along Interstate 90, not too far from Sioux Falls, where you're located. From my personal side, I love my golden retrievers. I have baby boy Monty now. He actually just turned 4, but he's always going to be my baby boy. I love to camp. I love vintage cars, great wine, good food, experiences with friends. From a professional side, I've been in and around photography since 1995, roughly. Worked for a studio and learned a lot on the job, on the fly, just kind of figuring out as we went. And then decided to start my own business, got connected with the Handline family, the owners of White House. Mike Handline has been a huge mentor of mine my whole life. Started my own business, traveled with the lab, did trade shows, mostly all portrait work, a little bit of commercial, just a teeny bit of landscape, but I'm not any good at it. You're much, much better than I am. Have been with the lab officially for 7 years, actually last week. And I also am the host, if you know this or not, of our YouTube Live.
Oh,
that we're doing
really?
right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, actually.
Like now.
But I gave that to you for a few minutes.
Yep.
So
Oh,
yeah.
man.
Okay, so there's my table topic about myself.
Yeah, I like it. I love it. And that goes to show you that anybody can kind of talk about anything, especially themselves,
Yep.
for a little bit of time. So we're going to kind of keep going on that note for
Okay.
just a little bit. And you said you do some photography.
Yep.
So I would love to hear about your favorite experience or moment that you've had with your camera in your hand. And it can be anything.
Boy, that's a good one.
Yep. And sorry to interrupt there.
Yep.
With table topics, you do have 30 seconds to kind of think about what you're going to say.
Oh, no, I know. I'm good.
Well, all right. Well, by all means.
So I'm going to take a little bit of a sidestep from what I would maybe expect for you to want for an answer there. Not a specific time, but I think more a specific feeling. So I know it's probably hard for even everybody in this room to believe, but I'm very introverted. I'm a very introverted person. I would much rather be quiet and sometimes by myself and contemplative, and that's how I think and recharge and all that stuff. But there's something about that tool, when I put that into my hand, that I become very extroverted. And I think that that also carries into my career here, is that I'm very capable of being very extroverted because it still relates back to that tool. And that tool has provided amazing experiences for me in my life. Traveling, photographing, wonderful people, sometimes not so wonderful people, great events, a lot of celebratory things, high school graduations, weddings, family portraits, newborns, all that kind of stuff. But what it comes down to is taking somebody who is mostly introverted and making them extroverted. But I'm gonna answer your question the way that you were probably wanting it to be answered. So I had the opportunity in 2013 to start doing volunteer work in Pennsylvania and photographing and documenting underprivileged families and children.
Cool.
In Braddock, Pennsylvania. And that is probably the highlight of my photographic career, is getting to know the stories, getting to know the people, being able to provide something to them that they had never had before. So looking back at like my career as a photographer, that's probably the highlight to me.
Yeah, I love that. You're providing value to people, and that's something that only you could have done with that camera, because other people, and I try to remember that with my own photography as well, is that like anybody can pick up a camera and take shots, but it really takes something special and more experience to really bring out something in people, and kind of you kind of have it, the photographer's eye, more or less.
Yeah,
So.
and to give back.
Yeah, give back.
That feels really good, and to be able to feel like you're really helping somebody and helping society as a whole, and creating something that wasn't there before.
Yeah, exactly. And I tried to think about that when I was getting started in photography as well, is if you kind of put the end result aside and just focus on giving back and providing value and just helping people.
Yeah.
Like if there's one thing our viewers take away from this conversation today, it's if you can help people no matter where you're at, whether that's in a booth or outside a booth, maybe you're taking headshots or whatever, like your life and their life is going to get way better and way more fulfilling.
Yeah.
And if you're in, that's for sales, and if you want to go down that road too, then that's naturally going to fall in line as well. because it's like, hey, I forgot to think about success, and for that reason is why I achieved it. Like you kind of put it on the back burner and you thought about everything else.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to add another little tidbit to that, so we were very fortunate to have somebody work with us named Ed for a long time, and he always said that the revenue will follow the relationship. So like when you build the relationship and you build the trust and you work with somebody day in and day out and you're doing it because you want to do the right thing for them, there is no way that the revenue or the sales or whatever are not going to follow that. It's not opposite.
Yep.
So you have to have those relationships. You have to build that from a genuine place, and then the sales come from that. And it's sometimes it's hard to understand that, but it works, and it's very, very true.
Yeah, you almost kind of got to get over yourself a little bit.
Yeah,
and just
right.
Put that
Get out
on
of
the
your
side.
own way. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
That can be hard to do.
Yeah, it definitely can be. So you kind of already touched on this, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
You bet.
So, what did we accomplish today? What did you teach us as, if somebody was going to say, okay, I want to say the 3 tips that I pulled from Andrew today, what would those be? What did we accomplish? What did we teach today?
Sure. So what we talked today is we covered booth fundamentals really quickly, and really what that comes down to is telling the story and connecting with people. And my booth is set up to accomplish that. That's really the one goal for that.
Yeah.
The second thing that we covered is how do we do that in practice? And that comes down to soft skills and basically anything that you learned outside of the classroom. So how well can you read people's body language and how well they're connected with you, and how can we improve on that?
Yep.
And then the third thing is kind of tying all that together to really, if we can put both those things on autopilot more or less and just kind of pick it up and run with it, that's when we can have the most fun.
Yeah.
And that's where we really drive value and see results, is when both of those are on autopilot. Use Toastmasters to kind of be able to juggle all of those soft skills at once, especially with this conversation here today.
Yeah.
And if you can free up your mind to take that and run, that's when you're going to provide a lot of value and you're going to have fun. Because if somebody walks up to your booth or display or just you on the street wanting family pictures,
Yep.
your energy and your vibe is instantly shown.
Absolutely.
And if those 2 things are on autopilot and you're ready and you're open for that and you don't incur a whole bunch of work by getting bogged down on those 2 things, then that's a win.
Yeah, and let's relate it just a little bit slightly different here. So,
Sure.
Yesterday, we were at a home shoot. We did a residential redesign. It was really fun. And Connor, who's in the room with us now, he was photographing the whole thing. And we would ask for certain things, and he'd be like, "Oh yeah, no problem," and he would just grab his camera and adjust the things. He didn't have to think about it.
Yep.
It's just okay, that's just muscle memory at that point.
Yep.
And you can have fun. You can have fun with the capture. You can have fun with the traveling. You can have fun with the sales aspect of it once you have built that knowledge and got those reps, like you're saying. And I really liked how you said that. So, okay, so one thing that we want to talk about here quick before we jump off the broadcast, we're going to have to go here pretty soon. So White House did a big event out in New York here earlier this year, and we reached out to Andrew and created an album of his work. And our designers here put together this beautiful album, and it was really fun this morning. Andrew hadn't seen this yet.
Nope.
But from the team that went out there, they said that this was one of the most popular pieces in the booth, that people were just really, really loving this. So let's just kind of page through here. And it was fun to see your reaction. You're like, I had never thought of doing this.
Nope.
So to create these, beautiful coffee table books and albums with, beautiful images in them, to me, this is 100% win. From having these on display. And I will add as well that we are redoing our internal walls here at White House, so we're going to have some of your images on display. I know this is one of them.
Yep.
I think this might be
That
one
is.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just amazing images. But when you're taking the image, the story, the product, and understanding the soft skills, you just can't help but win. So.
Yeah, I got nothing. That's incredible.
Yeah, this is just
You're
absolutely
speechless
gorgeous.
today? Yeah.
Yeah. And then this one we're putting in here too. So
Yeah,
yeah, just and if you're watching this, we hope you're inspired by what Andrew is here to teach. And this started off as talking about landscape photography, but that's not what this is about.
Nope.
This is about understanding and being able to come in and solve people's problems for them, which is fantastic. So, did we miss anything? I want to make sure that I didn't skip over anything that you wanted to share here today.
Yeah, no, I don't think we missed everything. We hit all the key stuff, and I would say don't be afraid to our viewers to go against some traditional views or knowledge, whether that be booth layout or whatever. And just remember that you want to connect with people and solve problems. And if you can really do that, then that's really what it's all about. And you're going to have the most fun, and your customers are going to have the most fun, and sales are going to follow.
Yeah, fantastic. So people who want to learn more about you, where are you at online? What's your Instagram, Facebook, like that kind of stuff?
Sure. So my Instagram is evermore, evermor.photography. My Facebook is evermore.photography as well. Okay. You can find me on LinkedIn. My website is www.evermore.online. Take note that there's no E on the end of Evermore. Okay. And you can also find me on Facebook under my personal account as well. I try to keep both of those up to date, but I would love to connect with anybody. And definitely shoot me a question if there's anything that you thought of that I didn't address today. And I'd love to help you out. I do coaching over virtual and in person if you happen to be in the area, but I just love helping people. So if there's anything I can help you with, please let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been fantastic. I've enjoyed every minute of this today, and I like being put on the spot. That was kind of fun to be able to make you the host for a minute. And we really appreciate you joining us. Thank you again for coming over. We're really excited to have you tour the facility today. You're going to get to watch some of your metal prints being pressed and made and float framed and everything. And I can tell by your smile you're excited for that. So
I can't wait.
We're going to load you up and send you back to Sioux Falls tomorrow. Just a couple quick reminders before we let you go. Make sure and subscribe to the WHCC YouTube. Follow us on Instagram at WHCC Pro. And for all your product details, check out WHCC.com. If you are watching the recording of this and you have questions for Andrew, feel free to put them into the comments. We'll get them answered for you. Again, thank you, and thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.